As I mean, peanut
It's
M&M.
gonna be Dynamite. How y'all doing? welcome back to Total Spotfest. This is JJ. That's Jamie. Returning with us this week is one Mr. Austin Reddick, back from the mountains. You were in Utah, right?
Yes, sir. Salt Lake City, pounding banquet beers. Went to a few concerts. It was a good time.
Did you have your sponsor with you?
My sponsor.
Yeah, Utah, you have to have a sponsor in order to drink in certain places, or they have to be a member or some shit like that, right? Or unless they change that.
It's slightly different. Utah's liquor laws are really weird. Like, if you serve alcohol, you have to explicitly state whether you are a bar or a restaurant. And the first time I went to Salt Lake City, the bartender explained that, and I was like, oh, like, is there some kind of logical reason for that I just don't understand? He's like, no, lawmakers here just thought you should know what establishment you're walking into, as if you couldn't open the front door and immediately discern whether you were in a bar or a restaurant. So that's one thing. Also, if it is a place that sells alcohol that is designated a restaurant, even if they have a bar and you walk up to order a beer, they will hand you a menu and the bartender will just say, you have to look at this. You don't end up having to order food, but you have to look at this for me to serve you alcohol. It's a very weird place. Although went and hung out with my best friend for a few days. He's got a little local dive bar he goes to called Duffy's, which seem to, I don't think they're skirting any laws, but because they're a bar proper and like a kind of seedy one, they're not getting a lot of the Mormon folk in. Just a normal ass dive bar.
There it is.
Cheap ass drinks. One of the last places I've come across that will do a banquet beer and a shot of Jim Beam for $5 all day, every day. That's like college drinking prices.
Yeah, what was it, $13.99? Jeez.
Yeah, they make phenomenal sandwiches, and they're a Blackhawks bar, which I appreciate as well. If you're ever in Salt Lake, swing by Duffy's Tavern.
No, lost it for me there.
I'll do it. I don't give a F.
And then think about this, and now you're talking about Utah getting a hockey team next season. They're getting the Coyotes are relocating up there. So
good.
All these weird liquor laws you put in there, the one sport where people literally drink like nothing but beer, like it's going out of style, right?
I went to a Nuggets game in Salt Lake once. They played the Jazz, but flew out.
No, like NHL, dude.
But in the stadium, like, they do serve beer in a few small select locations. But as you walk around the stadium, every place that would normally serve beer in a normal stadium serves ice cream. It's real weird.
Yeah, see, that's odd. You know, because baseball got beer, like at beer vendors. You know, cool, right? Football, same sort of thing, and it is what it is. But there's broader appeal there. Basketball, I think it finally falls the same suit. Hockey, very legitimate. Just drink a lot of effing beer. Like anytime I've gone to any hockey game, whether it's been in St. Louis, Denver, wherever else I've been to hockey games at. Did I go to Chicago? No, I haven't gone to Chicago. Nashville.
That's a good time.
Yeah, it's just literally like going into the stadium, and you don't tailgate NHL games, but going into the stadium, you have a mound of like cans around the trash can at all times for no good reason. It's a Thursday night, for God's sake, and you're going to watch a hockey game, and I don't know, it's just a kind of that strange brew sort of like stereotype. But anyway, cool. Well, it's great to have you back. I don't know if you heard the news or not, but you now no longer officially no longer our champion.
I was aware, but you know what? I lost clean. It was 1, 2, 3 right down the middle. Not like the bullshit Jamie tried to pull at the last pay-per-view. So I will live with it. And February 10th at Fountain City Pro, I will hand that belt over.
How about May 10th?
Yeah.
That's what I meant. The last one was February.
You know, hey.
Yeah, no, no. Now that I said it, I'm a man of my word. Now, next February 10th, she'll get that title.
2025,
champion
baby.
or not.
It's not to me, it's to my daughter, my seed, my progeny. That is the one. Who?
Well,
One.
as
Back up
the
top.
kind of, black sheep of this family for some godforsaken reason, technically, you lost the belt to your daughter, Jamie. So Austin should be giving it to you. We'll do it all live. Come join us. We'll be live from Fountain City Pro right here on YouTube and on Fountain City Pro's socials for the pre-show. We'll rope Austin to come over for the belt exchange. And hey, who knows what'll happen? It could be a shit show. It could be a lot of fun.
I'm gonna do the Charlotte Flair Becky Lynch thing to Jamie's ass. I'm just gonna like drop it.
Drop it, bam.
Do it.
Bye.
And then we'll just be catty towards each other for a while.
Yeah.
Storytelling.
Well, we hope everybody watching out there, we hope you guys did have a wonderful week. I know for those of us in the Midwest, we've been dealing with a lot of stormy weather lately. So I saw that comment. I'm not going to go there. But yeah, we got quite a lot of wrestling to talk about because with the NHL and NBA playoffs going on, both of them being involved with Time Warner, 3-hour Dynamite tonight, sort of.
Yeah, I mean, sure.
I would say it did feel like a 3-hour Dynamite, and I mean that in a complimentary way. Like they flowed into Rampage really well, and it just felt like a complete 3-hour show, not 2 hours of Dynamite. And here's the normal bullshit we give you on Rampage for an extra hour if you want it.
Which is what they did the last time, and it was fine. But
before we get into it, I have some flowers that I would like to deliver. Tony Khan.
Okay.
Chef's kiss on having a neck brace while you're in the war room doing the NFL draft. Like, if there's one thing that I believe in, and I think all of us, I think I can hopefully speak for all of us, is being committed to the bit. And damn it, he was committed to the bit, and props to him.
It was so good.
It was.
I lost it. I lost it. But I
And
saw
then
it.
the first day, second day, during interviews over the weekend. I mean, it's like, wow.
Speaking of interviews, what'd you guys think of his Weinstein comment?
Expert level trolling.
Yeah.
Because, like, if you're attached to WWE in any way, you cannot respond. Because, like, you don't have a leg to stand on. Is it a bit of a silly comparison? Sure. Is it kind of petty and childish? Sure. Mm-hmm. Is this not a business full of petty and childish carnies for most of its history? Like, hey, man, it was just such an expert troll move. Because, yeah, no one attached to the company can comment on it because you're just going to bring bad press to the company. So he just kind of gets away. There's nothing to do back, and people start talking about it.
I just love the NFL Network. As soon as he mentioned her, okay, Tony, thank you for your
uncomfortable.
Even Pat McAfee, who is full on WWE, he even commented on it and was like, "Oh, he got attacked and all." Like he sold it. Like he did a good job of selling it for him too. Like he put him over. I'm like, dude, Pat McAfee is a treasure. Like I don't care what anybody says. Like some people don't like Pat McAfee. I am 100% part of his fan club, especially because he loves wrestling. He's good for the business, the way he talks. I'm just a big fan. But yeah,
Pat McAfee, he's passionate. He's a bit, extremely passionate about stuff, which is I think a lot of the reason why people are put off by him, right? But he's actually very smart. He knows his stuff. He played in the NFL for, he made it there for a freaking reason, right? He knows things.
And he hates the Tennessee Titans.
So he still made the NFL, and you and I and Austin all haven't. So none of us are professional athletes. Well, at least you and I aren't. Austin.
I mean, I could get a job working for the Chiefs, baby.
I am not a professional athlete. I am an entertainer, sir.
Entertainer. All right. So you want to talk a little wrestling, or do you want to talk a little Fed?
Let's briefly touch on the Fed, because I caught a little of it. They had a draft, guys.
They had a draft, and Friday night's draft was like terrible. Not even gonna lie. But then Monday's draft was actually pretty solid. Like, that's when you got some people out there. Blair Davenport, aka B Priestley, is now part of SmackDown. I thought that was great.
Sure.
No, this is good stuff, man. Like, they're moving people around, and like, hell, you know as well as I do, Ilja Dragunov would have never, ever been called up and done anything with on the main roster.
You're not wrong, 100%. And but that's kind of like, I was almost like beating a broken drum here. We know they're doing things better than they had been doing for the past 15 years because one person's not there. Totally get it, right? And multiple people, but still, even with that, the draft always has people moving around. It's cool. It's fine. The part that I don't like is kind of the chintziness of it, where they're trying to make it be like they're competing and it's on the same level as the NFL draft, right? And even other sports don't do drafts that the NFL draft does. So don't do it. Don't have these war rooms. You come out, you have the announcements, big thing, cool, awesome, right? That's good. It was cool to see the NXT reactions from Laya Valkyrie, stuff like that. Very cool, right? I don't know. It wasn't to me like nothing like surprised me from any of that. Even Blair Davenport, which maybe might have been the first name I would have picked to take a call up. I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, like it's always nice to see who gets called up from NXT. That's always fun, but that's a layup you're going to get every year. One, doing the draft alongside the NFL draft cheapens it. It makes it look like you're just doing a parody of the NFL. Back in 1996, my favorite era, they literally did the Raw after the Super Bowl was the Raw Bowl, where they had a 4-way tag where they were just wearing generic football jerseys. And that was the whole gimmick. I think they had like a turf-looking carpet on the ring at some point. And that's what, like, this draft, it seems just like a parody of the NFL because there are no stakes. There's it doesn't, you all work for the same company. Like, all of you work for the same company. And you have not held to people being stuck on brands the 3 other times you've brought this back up over the last decade or so. Also, they didn't move anyone important. It was just shuffling around some undercard guys, and that was about it. I guess some superstars can just be exempt from the draft because they don't want to be in it, which I'll give that to Roman Reigns, but I think there was someone else that also didn't. Like, I think Jimmy Uso wasn't drafted because he was injured, but also, like, you've got CM Punk who's injured and Seth Rollins who are injured who were drafted. So you're like breaking your own rules and you're not putting any effort into it. I think instead of doing a draft every year, they should have a night where the GMs get together and they negotiate trades. The draft thing is overplayed. It rarely has any importance outside of shakeups because, like, if you're going to show that they have this loyalty to their team and their program and all that, and it's some kind of competition, make them negotiate with each other over talent. Hey, I'll give you AJ Styles and Jinder Mahal for Kevin Owens and whichever other guy is Elias. No, Elias is gone. Maybe bring Elias back, throw him in the deal.
Do you like an expansion style, wild card weekend, if you would,
Yeah.
Triple H comes and gives each GM 4 wild cards where they can pull anybody they want. So each GM's got to protect people, and you got to, who's going to deal? They can get rid of wild cards by trade. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it only affects literally 3 people, right? Usually the people that come up from NXT, because even though DIY moved to Friday night along with Candice and Indy, to your point, and Jamie, we'll probably see them eventually sometime on Raw because they're feuding with somebody that's on Raw right now. So,
yeah, I want to see them do trades, and I want to see them be able to throw in a wrestler to be named later. And then throughout the year, when you need someone to jump to the other brand just for some fresh programs or something, you cash that in. Hey, we just brought. I was trying to think of an NXT guy, but I haven't watched that in a long time.
Trick Williams. Trick.
There you go.
Whoop that trick. Whoop that trick. That's the only thing I love. I actually like him. He's not ready yet.
You just say whoop that trick. The Fox
pretty
football
much.
Transformers were Awesome, Heather. I disagree.
But do you guys remember back when they first started doing it, they used to have matches, and whichever brand won the match is the one who got to get the first pick of that round.
Oh yeah, there was stakes.
Yeah.
That's my point.
Dude,
You know, it's like this is
like I am all about that. Or like, hey, like to your point, like I know this could be, you know, JJ's favorite match, you know, pick on a pole match, you know, where, you know, they're able to pull it down and be able to get the first pick or whatever. And or even better, the protection like matches. Hey, I won't let Stone Cold go, you know, back in the day, but
Okay.
I will have a match in order to keep him.
the only on a pole match gimmick I've ever liked has been Feast or Fired. You can do that. Where you get up there, there's on Raw, there's 3 Raw cards and there's 1 SmackDown card. Depending which briefcase you get, you might go to SmackDown. You don't know.
What if they threw like all your lower card guys, you know, like what used to be your 24/7 title division in like a 20-man battle royal, and you get assigned to shows with alternating eliminations. So like the first one eliminated goes to Raw, second goes to SmackDown, and whoever wins the battle royal gets to pick what show they want to be on. Now you got a fun little match for your show with all the guys you never use, and it's again like the more shit that's fun, the better. But the other thing too is have a reason for the 2 shows to compete, and not just, hey, you work Mondays, we work Fridays. Cool, catch you over the weekend of the pay-per-view every month or so.
Oh man, only if they had a Survivor Series or something like that they could do brand versus brand, or also this thing
on the line. Like whichever brand wins Survivor Series should get to main event WrestleMania night 2.
Yeah. I think that's great. Like, yeah, like they have this plethora of roster talent. Why not, I don't know, exploit that and then get people more interested in it? Like, because I know they're trying to pander to the 7 to 15-year-old person, and like just expand it out to 40, like up to the 49. Do the 18 to 49 one that AEW loves so much.
I mean, even if you're not expanding it out, I mean, just the whole point that there's really no you're half-assing this idea of brand loyalty. Okay.
Yeah. Well said.
Who cares about brand loyalty? The 2 GMs who are on both shows bitching about each other's brand. You've already buried it, you know? At least they feigned it for the longest time. You talk about Survivor Series, other things, right? We were there when the man was born, right? When we had those, because that was the go homer, the lead up to Survivor Series and Raw versus SmackDown, right? We were at a Raw, and here came the SmackDown led by Becky Lynch, and she's bleeding through the crowd, almost bled on Jamie's daughter. It was amazing.
It was.
Give us some gravitas.
Yeah, just have a reason. Like they refuse to worry about having anything have any meaning because it's just always the next big thing that pops up. And it like you said, it's half-assing it. It's lazy because you don't have to give us War and Peace. Like, give us some Dr. Seuss. That's all the story we need to follow. Just enough that there's something to like give a shit about and keep along with. Yeah. And I'm right there with you.
Try not. Do or do not. There is no try.
Preach. All right. Well, speaking of more Fed, obviously they're in Kansas City. Big Rob was in there. I was not in attendance. I had family things, and it was another sellout. So WWE right now is on a run of sellouts. They haven't had this long of a run of sellouts since the early 2000s.
They are definitely winning the ticket wars, if you want to go there.
For sure. Also pay-per-view buys, but they don't do pay-per-view buys. They used to views.
I mean, does that really matter, though, Austin? You know,
not at all.
I know it does matter from a bottom line standpoint, but we're also talking about 2 vastly different brackets of categories when you look at, you know, business models. Okay.
Yeah.
Does that really matter?
More people enjoy WWE. That's perfectly fine. AEW is in no danger of going anywhere. They continue to grow. there is clearly a market for a different kind of pro wrestling. It's like comparing them is just for people who like to argue on the internet, because outside of that, it doesn't matter. Some, like, a billionaire is getting more rich on one side, a billionaire is getting more rich on the other side. The more wrestlers that have places to work and can get bigger paydays because there's competition, the better. Outside of that, it doesn't matter. Like, yeah, WWE is more popular. That's cool. I hope everyone that watches it genuinely enjoys it, has a good time when they tune in, because that's what wrestling should be. For me, that's AEW. And I still check out WWE on occasion. Caught a bit of it on Monday before the Nuggets tipped off. It has gotten better. It hasn't gotten good. But they should be. The problem is they don't want to be what classic pro wrestling fans call it. I don't want to say pro wrestling fans, because if you enjoy pro wrestling in any capacity, you're a pro wrestling fan. There's no like barriers here. But people that like came up watching pro wrestling and like that older stuff, like, we like to see stories play out. We like to have callbacks to things that used to happen, which we will get into once we get into Dynamite a little bit. Because that first segment is one of my favorites of all time. But yeah, they don't care about that. It's social media clips and whatever's going on in the mainstream, trying to tap into that. And if you like it, cool. AEW isn't going anywhere, so I could care less one way or the other. I'm going to keep watching the wrestling I like.
That's very well said. And Jamie, I think the biggest the biggest kind of, equate I would make to that, being that this is, and I'm 100% diving into fandom, because this is our pre-May the 4th show. So, but it is Star Wars, right? And you and I have had many talks about this, right? Because there's 3 distinct Star Wars groups out there, right? There's the Star Wars groups that are like OG trilogy only, F everything else. There's the ones that are like, no, I want all the canon, everything. And then there's the ones that are somewhere in the middle. It's like, well, I like this, but I also kind of like some of this stuff. I like this, but sort of a little bit of this, right? And the truth of the matter is, you're never going to appease everybody. But why does Star Wars do what it does? Because George Lucas's goal from day one was to sell $1 million in toys.
I think he might have hit that at some point, maybe recently.
Oh, yeah,
it's been like 50 years, so like he probably got there eventually.
You know what I mean? The whole prequels, that was marketing. Like, you want to talk about marketing, and Jamie's got very distinct thoughts about the prequel series, and most of them are very warranted. I disagree with a couple of things, but not in the major.
Heather appears to have strong thoughts on the prequels as well.
Well, you gotta remember, a lot of people, like I have friends now, they're in their 30s, right? And they grew up with the prequels. That was their youth. Whereas my youth was my dad showing me Empire and Jedi, right? So it's I
went to Jedi on my birthday. It came out on my birthday.
Oh, wow.
So I went and saw Jedi.
That
was the first Star Wars movie I ever seen.
I feel like the prequels are a good analogy to modern day WWE. They're like,
exactly,
you're going to watch anyway. We're going to give you a touch of things you like here and there, but we are going to mail the rest of this shit in.
And we're going to market the living piss out of it. We're going to give you pod racing and all this other video games, and we're going to give you T-shirts, and we're going to give you 8 million Jar Jar Binks McDonald's tie-ins, and whatever it may be.
So is our truth? Is our truth Jar Jar?
Now, I know what your feelings are on Jar Jar. Would you put our truth in that same bracket?
He's secretly a Sith Lord? Absolutely.
Evil genius behind the whole damn thing.
I don't think someone who grew up watching and being inspired by John Cena can be evil in any capacity.
I mean, John Cena's Peacemaker. I'm just saying. Yeah. 24/7 championship was pod racing. Yeah. Oh, I got it. I got it. The tribal chief who barely shows up, Darth Maul.
I mean, the parallels are there. How did Disney not buy WWE? Seriously. Come on.
It would have made so much. Like, imagine
Giants.
putting a physical WWE Hall of Fame in the Disney parks.
Dude, that'd
Just
been so
saying.
sick.
I'm
That'd
just
been so
saying.
sick. I'm sorry. Like I would have fanboyed for that.
Yeah.
Like,
That'd be so cool.
that would get me to go to Disney, which, like, I went when I was a kid and stuff, but as an adult, like,
Yeah. Did you want to truck yourself up to Stamford, Connecticut?
yeah, well, no, there's not even one there is no physical WWE Hall of Fame. That's what makes their whole having a Hall of Fame silly. It's just we hand a couple plaques once a year because we get an extra hour on the USA Network, and that's it. Put it in Las Vegas. Like, I would go. Hell yeah, that would be dope.
Maybe bring back WWE the restaurant.
I was gonna say WWE restaurant. Yeah, man.
But like, yeah, because when they set up WrestleMania
Hard
Access,
rock for
they
wrestling.
clearly have a warehouse full of all kinds of old gimmicks and props.
Well, they have
and all kinds
to.
of
You
shit.
gotta
Like,
have like Stone Cold's original, like his vest he wore at WrestleMania
Yeah.
17,
and there's plenty of old wrestlers that have old gear and shit. They would sell back to WWE for relatively cheap just because they need the money.
Oh, for sure.
wow.
And then like you have all the finishers as specialty drinks. Like you have the Stone Cold Stunner. You could have the Rock Bottom. Oh, dude, you could have so many drinks like that. And then appetizers. You could have them as like the name of some moves by some people. They're pretty cool. Shooting Star Press is
Mhm.
like chicken stars. Whatever.
yeah, like the martini with blue cheese olives can be the stink face. You get whatever.
There you go. The lion tamer.
All right. Well, hey, how about we talk about non-Fed stuff here?
Yeah, let's talk about the status again of one Tony Khan committed to the bit. Opening up the show, talking about his update and everything that got rudely interrupted, gentlemen.
Yeah, he's still not medically cleared to travel. Still in the brace, committed to the bit, even though we all as NFL fans know he's actually literally there for, rookie orientation. But still, whatever.
He needed to turn like this, not this. That was his mistake.
People were bitching about that. I go, it's Tony Khan, for God's sake. People were bitching about him like taking like the punch from Jungle Boy, and I'm like, it's Tony Khan. It's like he did his. We're lucky he was out there doing it, but yeah.
He needs the Batman turn. He just needs the Batman turn,
Interrupted by the Bucks, who give brief explanation saying that why are we still here? Why are we still employed? Well, we don't want to get too deep in the legalese of it, but just ironclad contracts with a founder's clause in it. That is what they quoted. So, in essence, they can do whatever the F they want, and they can't get fired.
I am so in on this. Like 1,000%. Now, who knows what the future holds and where they're going with this? But to me, this seemed like the start of a very long story.
Yes. And
that the Elite is going to run AEW for some time to come, which is the best thing that could have happened. They've kind of, it's almost like that back in the fall, even though plans got changed, it got off the rails here and there, but where you had the thread of everybody gunning for MJF just running through your shows every week. And it just kind of centers the program a bit. And then you've already started to see the Bucks getting their hands in more other people's business. Yeah, this seems like this is going to have some legs, and I sure hope it does. And when Tony said that he was going to name somebody to run the stuff, I actually didn't think it would just be the Bucks saying, "Nah, it's us." But I'm glad we got there. I was hoping it would be Riho. I heard Scott D'Amore was mentioned a lot, but I still heard
Scott D'Amore mentioned a ton. I
need Riho with the pipe. Just keep in order.
Now, Jamie, we hinted on this last week. I know, Austin, you weren't here for this, but we kind of hinted about this, the NWO-esque takeover of all AEW.
Yeah, like I seriously could see them doing now, if the Elite's running it, having an Elite pay-per-view. just like the old NWO sold out.
You can almost do what they did poorly with the NWO, where eventually the entire roster was split and they had like 40 guys. But at that time, the NWO were just some dudes that everyone thought was cool. Now it's basically management saying, hey, you're either on our side or we're going to make your life a living hell. Good guys go to one side, bad guys go to the other. And yeah, like that could be a company-wide story that lasts months.
It could last a year easy. And then you could finally have the person standing up and you got the chase, right? Yeah, they'd have to have somebody become world champion that's on their side, or you move Swerve under their umbrella, which I think would be an absolutely killer move, even though he's supposed to be top babyface. I think people would still love it. Not yet, though. I think he needs a solid babyface run, and then while he's champion, maybe make a change later. But
hey, you have the perfect long-term person in play already, JB. The most unlikely of names, if I would have said this a year ago, Maxwell Jacob Friedman, MJF.
Is the knight in shining armor?
The White Knight of AEW.
Him coming basically to Tony Khan's defense would be a huge like story moment. That would be great.
It'd be a moment.
That's groundbreaking stuff. He's captivating enough as it is.
And he's supposed to be on the shelf for a while too. So you got time to like.
Yeah, apparently he had surgery about a month or so ago. I think I read something of that nature. Shoulder stuff. So that's never a quick turn. So.
Yeah, there's conflicting reports that it's one of multiple surgeries or it's just one.
You and I both know, we all know this, that, getting a shoulder surgery usually means at least 2 surgeries.
Yeah.
More than likely. But, well, who knows? But that's why you say long term about Revolution next year. All of a sudden, he's the one that comes and is the White Knight, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And, like, also, it's not like he's your only option.
No.
Like, you could have half a dozen guys on your roster end up being the guy. You could easily have a couple months down the line, they screw Swerve out of the title and Okada wins it, and you have Ospreay beat Okada for it later on down the line.
Make Ospreay's the most likely name you throw out there, right? Sure.
But I think for Ospreay for the championship for sure, but I think for this whole storyline, like MJF being the guy that finally comes in and puts the end of the elite for Tony Khan is just that's top tier.
I agree. So another person came to Tony's defense right after that, gentlemen. And, a few months ago, I would have never thought this would have happened. But then here comes Swerve basically saying the Elite, what they did was a bitch move.
No, Rob. No. Sorry. No. I'm just...
War Daddy?
Go away with that. No.
So Mr. Wardlow had a moment. Now he's back to War Daddy. Like he ruined his moment. He's back to War Daddy.
So Swerve called it a bitch move. Sorry, I didn't mean to distract you there.
Oh, you're good. I just wanted to see what you guys thought about Swerve's promo with Prince Nana.
It was great. Like, especially rolling after what just happened with the Elite. Like the fact that Swerve came out and acknowledged that, which he really wasn't like part of that storyline at the time. But yeah, that's all I ask for when I watch WWE. Just like, can your talent be aware of what's going on your show? Can they have thoughts and opinions about anyone outside of the one person they're wrestling for the next 6 to 8 weeks? And this was that. That was what really sealed it for me, that this might be a very long-term storyline, is like you're starting to get a lot more other people involved that are taking a stand against the Bucks. Swerve acknowledged it. Like, that's what you want your babyface champion to do. Just come out and be like, hey guys, that was a bitch move. Why'd you beat up Tony Khan? Yeah, Swerve had a great promo, and I love that they tied it right back in with the Bucks to announce his challenger for Double or Nothing.
Well, it's kind of like the unwritten rule thing of them since their inception, right? You know, Cody Rhodes, Kenny Omega, and the Young Bucks are the ones who founded All Elite Wrestling, basically. You know, they had to get Tony Khan to do that, but they're the ones who had the All In idea. Cool, right? It was them. But they're on the roster, and they're supposed to be like every other guy, right? It was always kind of like that. Now they're actually like not hiding from that at all, right? You know, and while their actual power might not be nearly what they're portraying naturally, right? It's good to at least present it as such, because from a storyline perspective, it doesn't make sense when they're just another tag team at third place in the tag team division, right? These guys own the company. What do they, you know? So I appreciate that, and they naturally have then inroads into every storyline because they're the vice presidents.
Yeah, and I like that they have the tag titles, and it's not the big evil management taking up your world title.
Yeah.
It gives them a completely different reign with the tag titles this time as well, and it gives them a reason to like hold the titles for a while and to build up a bunch of other teams to keep challenging them. So yeah, it keeps that division kind of fun. And man, like heel executive vice president Bucks are so much better than I ever thought they could have been.
So good.
I can't agree with that statement more. Like, we've talked about this. I feel like a broken record with this, but when it first started, I'm like, what is this? And then now it's like in full throat. I'm like, yes, sir, I am in on this, and I want more of it in my eyeballs.
Quick question for y'all. Do you think what has happened since justifies airing the CM Punk footage a couple weeks ago?
Storyline wise, for what they're doing, yes.
Yeah. That's crazy, but yes.
Like,
I really don't think that it was a little bit pettiness on Tony's behalf to pull the trigger on it, but it does make sense with the story, especially considering what happened at the end of the show, which we'll get to.
And the fact that at the time it was a setup to bring Jack Perry back, who was a huge part of this. Like, immediately everyone wanted to shit on it, but here we are only like 2 weeks later. And it's like, yeah, that was actually pretty rad.
Well, and they took the video, which honestly, the reason they did it was to get eyeballs, and it worked. Okay?
Absolutely. Yeah.
But they took the video, which the whole thing has been CM Punk versus AEW. CM Punk versus AEW. CM Punk versus Tony Khan. CM Punk versus AEW. And they're like, all right, we're going to make this 100% about just Jack Perry. That's it. Like, they completely flipped the entire script, right? CM Punk keeps going back into this. He's just now being a bitchy little child, and they won't probably ever retort to him. So he knows he has nowhere to go further with this, and he's just better to move on anyway, right? They took him basically shitting on everything and trying to make it about him, and made it about the one guy who you wouldn't have thought they would have made it about.
And they're elevating the shit out of Jack Perry in the process.
I mean, it's insane.
It's no coincidence that video aired, and then 4 days later, he was in New Japan show in Chicago.
Coming out to CM Punk's entrance music.
I mean, this is not rocket science, people, here. This is...
But, all right, so moving back to Swerve. Let's just pivot back to Swerve. The Elite did announce his Double or Nothing opponent, and it's none other than our father, Christian Cage, who did come out with Kill Switchosaurus, Mama Wayne, and baby prodigy Nick Wayne.
I was happy with this.
So
I was especially happy with, because if you remember, I don't know if it was last week or a few weeks ago, I brought up some Christian things, but when we were talking about Swerve, remember? He attacked Swerve, right? They beat the shit out. We saw that coming, right? They beat up Nana. Okay, yes, the jumpy little man. All that happens. And then Christian gives his promo. Not before, right? Typical Christian promo where he talks shit on Winnipeg because the Jets just got eliminated the night before in that exact same building. I mean, you got to take the cheap heat when you can get it, right, Austin?
Pro wrestling crowds love cheap heat and cheap pops. You just have to be good with your delivery. That's all like effort.
Literally 24 hours ago, the Pride of Winnipeg in that very same building, dashed.
I think it also worked because he's a fellow Canadian, but from Toronto. And to hear that come from another Canadian hockey team's fan base probably only pisses you off more.
Well, the Western, Well, the thing is, like, most of the Canadians, see, Toronto, the Leafs for Canada, Leafs are to the rest of Canada what the Yankees are to the rest of America, right? If you're in New York or you're from New York, you grew up the Yankees, right? That's life, right? Outside of there, nobody likes them because that's all they get pushed down their face is the Yankees, 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 right? So it was fantastic. But so gets the cheap heat, goes into it, and then says, "Don't you think I don't remember that not just a few months ago you went into my son's home and beat the." I'm like, oh, he pulled it back to look at that. Fantastic threads, man.
I mean, Christian's doing the Lord's work.
And they say AEW doesn't tell stories.
I know.
How many times in any wrestling company have we seen the show opening promo that's just a bunch of generic bullshit, and then someone comes out and attacks them to set up a program, and it's just, I don't like you, or because I want your title. Like I said earlier, I don't need War and Peace. Give me Dr. Seuss. Just give me a basic thread to follow. Christian comes out. Hey, man, you beat up my kid and you lost a match for us. I don't forget. I want that belt. Like, cool. I'm in. We got a story.
Reason. Boom. And a pretty good match set up for Double or Nothing. Honest to God. Now,
I'm excited. I think it's good to give Swerve a slightly different kind of match as well. Because you're going to have Ospreay against someone dope. You're going to have Okada against someone dope. And Swerve can have as great of a match as anyone else on that roster. But now you're not trying to overstep something like Ospreay and Danielson, which obviously you're not getting a second time Double or Nothing, but you'll get something of that sort. You get something different that can be just as good.
You got Ospreay strong. He's fighting.
That's right. Yeah, it's already announced. Which that's going to slap.
Yeah.
So yeah, let Swerve and Christian have a different style match.
Exactly. Awesome. You don't go a buffet and get nothing but the crab legs, right? You want to make sure you get your fill of crab legs, but you also gotta get some of the other stuff, right? You got those twice baked potatoes over there. You gotta get some of those. You gotta get save room for the custard, with a bunch of jimmies and chocolate chips and all the fixins and shit on it, right? You can't do nothing but crab legs.
Yeah.
Jamie's looking at me like I could do a million crab legs. Fuck you.
I don't know if I've ever had crab legs from a buffet.
Really?
I don't think I've ever have either.
I guess it would depend on the buffet.
They used to have them all the time for Sunday brunch buffet. It's no longer there. I think it's torn down, but it was over there off of 119th and Metcalf, over by kind of over by the Cheesecake Factory, Jamie, in that area, in Overland Park. There's a Chinese super buffet thing, and they had their Sunday buffet. They had crab legs on it too. So yeah.
Word.
Okay. So speaking of crab legs, at least the tastiness of that, we finally had our first match, and not in so typical AEW fashion. I would not call this a banger, but I definitely think it did a lot of storytelling. So you had Cope going up against Buddy Matthews of the House of Black, and this again plays right into why Megan is now our champion and needs to be recognized as our pay-per-view champion, as the second founding member of the FWO. She called this out, and I'm loving where this story is going. I mean, Copeland won real quick, whatever, and then he kept going after Buddy because of the...
Well, it went real quick. It was a decently... I mean, they gave it 23 minutes.
Yeah, that match had some time.
It covered a lot because they didn't have anything for the first bit. It covered through a lot of commercials. So
Yeah, that's fair.
I hear you.
You had a whole Buddy
technically
Matthews
was
spitting
a
a
long
blood
match.
spot.
That's true.
Like that was part of it. It's like it stopped in the middle because he was spitting up blood and they were
All
checking.
right, that's
on
when we
him.
went to the commercial. They did at least 2 commercial breaks in the middle of that match, though. So you probably only got like 8 minutes on TV, but it did encompass a lot of. I don't know. I enjoy. I wish I had the foresight that one Miss Tyrant did have to see the Adam Copeland versus the entire House of Black as the opponent, right? Oh, even at this, he didn't know who it was going to be. Could have been anybody. Who knows? You got Malachi coming out. Did you really think it was going to be me? That's who's going to face a Double or Nothing. We know this, right?
Yeah. Yes.
But the mystery of it, and I mean, whatever you could do to keep the House of Black prevalent on TV, do it. I'm for it.
Yeah, like the match was solid. Like you said, Jamie, it wasn't a banger, but I think as a whole, tonight's Dynamite was probably the best episode I've ever seen them have that didn't have a banger match on it.
I was just thinking about that. Yeah, I think the best match of the night was on Rampage.
Yeah, it was
The 2 best matches.
it was
as a matter of fact.
really good storytelling the entire time throughout. Like there was nothing I wasn't interested in. And we'll get to it in due time, but that includes the Chris Jericho stuff, which I never thought I would say in the year of our Lord 2024.
Join us.
We'll get to it.
I don't know if you caught our. We'll talk about that in a minute here. Okay.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
After the match is over, he goes to do. To your point, he goes to do concerto, and they're selling the whole. He got sprayed with the mist, and the mist fucks with your brain stuff, which I love that continuity strand. That's the reason Julia Hart is the way that she is, right? That's the reason that Sky Blue became so much darker, right? You know, and I love the fact that they're doing that. You get sprayed with the mist, you become this like dark sort of. It's kind of like the scare juice from Batman Begins, right? It amplifies your fear or whatever they're doing. So he goes to do concerto, blackout, and there's Malachi, and Malachi just looks at him and goes, "Do it, do it, do it, gin tonic, do it," right? And then Buddy Matthews sits up, says, "Do it," and they're telling him to do it. And it's like just the mind fuck they're doing to him. Oh, I love it. So good.
Yeah. I always really enjoy hokey shit in pro wrestling. Like this was a little hokey, but well executed. And that's what pro wrestling should be sometimes. I want to be watching a live action like movie or video game where some shit like it doesn't have to make sense in the laws of reality. It just needs to follow a logical plot line.
Yeah. You mean that devil group doing the black magic stuff?
Yeah, like cool. You've got your weird cult that turns people with spit in their face. All right, just stick with it, and I'm in. And this is one of the more interesting things I think they've done with the House of Black in a while.
Mm-hmm.
I was just waiting for like somebody to be like, hum shibai, hum shibai, hum shibai. Halima Shoti Day. Yeah, sorry. So let's go right into the one, the only, the Samoan Joseph himself, Samoa Joe. Top 5 walk away on since he's been with AEW.
You got one of your favorite
that was
moves
glorious.
of all time. It was so good.
Like, I think it almost the one where the dude's jumping just looks at him like, "What are you doing?" That one might be number 1
That's the best.
for
The
AEW,
Punk
but
one's
this
up there,
one
too.
might be 2.
I think the CM Punk one from All In is up there.
Oh, that's a good point.
He had a really good one. That was probably 3. This might be tied with the guy looking the other direction because this was so rad.
I love if you go back and you watch the history of Samoa Joe, right? He didn't really do a ton of that move in ROH necessarily. A little bit here and there, right? Really in TNA is where that thing was born. And TNA, he has sort of like, because he was a lot younger, right? And he came in with the unbeatable. That was his angle, right? You know, it was the Samoan submission machine. Joe's going to kill you, right? You know, and so he had that edge to him, and it was that very cockiness edge to him. Then when he went to NXT, he was the kind of the older, established machine. So it was more a fuck you in your face sort of walk away, right? And that kind of carried through a little bit to the main roster in Raw and SmackDown, all that stuff. And now he's the old veteran that's like, look at this son of a bitch. What is he doing? You know, it's like a different vibe of walk away in each company he's been in. But I don't know. I thought that this, if you're going to do a squash match, this is how you do one, right? You have somebody who is just in a very high profile situation, consummate professional like Joe, a very likable young kid, right? You're selling a good story with him. He could take a loss. It doesn't matter. And he's going to do stuff. And like his sell of the Muscle Buster. Come on. Come on, man.
Yeah,
Isaiah
Joe
doesn't get
really,
enough credit, man. I love it.
Yeah, Joe really should be squashing extra talent. Joe should be squashing guys on your roster. So
exactly,
you remember that Samoa Joe still kicks ass. Like
and
his nice little.
We give Private Party a run at something. He's not just somebody, oh, I remember him from. No, he's been on your TV. You know, at least you get it every once in a while.
And this is good because, like, Swerve's moving on to other things. You don't have to necessarily, like, go right into a program with Joe. Just throw him out there, kick some ass every other week or so until you got something for him to get into.
Well said. So there was a quick video package from Sky Bluety talking about Rampage. So there's that. But then
we'll talk
after
more about
that,
she has a match.
Yeah, we're going to put a pin in that because that match actually was amazing. But so we're going to put a pin in that. But Orange Cassidy comes out and he says, Trent Beretta, man, it's on site. Like, I love seeing a little bit of fire and passion from my Orange Cassidy. Also, he said that Chuck Taylor will never wrestle again. Did you guys get that?
He said that. Did you watch the parking lot? Did you catch any of the parking lot brawl, or at least the highlights
I didn't get
of
to
it?
see it.
It's worth a watch.
I heard it was
Every
good.
parking lot brawl has been fantastic. They've all involved the best friends in some manner, right? The first one was the unexpected pleasure we never knew was coming when it was Proud and Powerful versus the Best Friends, right? During COVID, and we're like, holy shit, what was this, right? Out of nowhere.
That's
right?
the Sue minivan first appearance, right?
First appearance of Sue, right? And that was amazing. This one was especially for like, they took full advantage of the lead-in from NBA playoffs, as they should have, right? 100%, right? So they did the full 3 hours after the NBA playoff game on Saturday night. Very good ratings for them. And man, this was brutally violent. Like, even for AEW standards, I was like, "Oh shit!" Right?
Nice.
Ended with him after he choked him out on top of a car when he tapped out, and there's Statlanders trying to stop stuff or this and that, and he comes out to try and stop it. And what does he do? Well, Trent's on top of the car still. He's got his leg hanging down in front of the window, so he takes a hammer and hits the glass like he's shattering his ankle, basically, and it looked very violent. It was very good. Take care, Rob.
See you, Rob.
Yeah. Hopefully Tony Khan doesn't do 3 hours every Wednesday. We can be on at our normal time.
Yes. We'd be rapping right now.
Yeah, I am super into this whole best friends angle, like more than I've been into a lot of things the best friends have done.
Yeah. So the best part though happens. So then, so Orange is all like beside himself, right? And and then out comes Trent, and Trent once again, this is the best I've ever seen Trent. Out comes Trent. And Orange is running up in the ramp, and there's Statlander. And I am convinced, because after the week after he turned on Chuck, or on Orange Cassidy, he whispered something in like the behind-the-scene video to Statlander, and Statlander just stood there for a second as he walked away. I 100% think she's going to side with him. 100%. I am on board with that. But as they're doing all this, and there's people keep trying to keep them separated, all this stuff, who comes out to be the voice of reason? but Winnipeg's own Donald Cornelius Callis. He comes out, he's talking to Orange Cassidy, and he takes him arm in arm away back down the ramp. Just a little kindling. Just throw some kindling on that there. We're just going to let that simmer for a little bit, because who knows what that means.
That's the best part of it. And that's why the breaking up the best friends, you've got not just Trent and Orange Cassidy, but also Rocky Romero as well. Like, you've got some really talented dudes that you're going to send into new and exciting things. And yeah, Orange walking away with Don Callis. Your first thought is like, Orange Cassidy's going to just stay Orange Cassidy. Like, that's one of your top baby faces. But what if? Like, I would be super into a heel Orange Cassidy run, joining the Callis family. What if Trent was right? Like, what if what he told Statlander was like, hey, man, no, this guy's really a piece of shit. He's been playing all of us this whole time. And what if Orange Cassidy ends up joining the Callis family? Like, probably not likely, but no matter where they go, it's going to be good.
I mean, they made Swerve. Swerve became the top face in the company, Jamie. Orange became big heel.
They kind of need one. They need their counter to Dom, because Dom's the biggest heel in all of wrestling right now.
I mean, I said
no lies were told in that statement. All right. Well, I want to put a pin in the elite thing, so let's put a pin there.
Okay. It's gonna take you to your favorite place of the night.
Our weekly encounter with one Chris Jericho.
Now,
he
Austin,
did have to go against Shibata, though.
Yeah,
so that made up for it.
Now, Austin, you weren't here for last week. Did you catch my kind of rant on it? Well, for those of you who weren't here either, I'll just kind of like, don't worry, I'll let you know. So, I am actually surprisingly not hating this as much as I thought I would. And here's the reason I told Jamie last week why he immediately, the former Jerichoholic himself here, went off the deep end a little bit on me. I like the fact that he's coming out here and almost in like kind of this blind admission of praise, right? Everyone's booing him. Oh, thank you. I love you too, right? That sort of bit, right? The kind of like slapstick, everybody loves me, and like nobody loves you. What are you talking about, right? I figure if you're gonna force feed this down our throat, at least make it swallowable. That's my take on making it swallowable, right? As he's coming out getting booed, he's smiling and trying to shake baby's hands, right? That much I like.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest problems with Jericho for the last 2 years or so has been he's been a little too serious. Even when he was doing more classic Jericho, like silly stuff, he wasn't like fully committing. Like when he was walking around just calling himself a wizard all the time. 20 years ago, Jericho would have crushed that. Modern Jericho, like, it just became a catchphrase. When he tried to get go fuck yourself over and just kept saying GFY at people, it just seemed lame. This seemed more like classic Chris Jericho to me tonight. Like old WCW, when he just thought he was the greatest person, like the greatest wrestler in the world. But you believe that he thought that at the time. And he was clearly just delusional. Not only are we getting that, but I am all in on Big Bill as Chris Jericho's heater. I think that makes both of them more interesting. And I love Big Bill.
JB, are you turning a corner at all, or are you alone now on your stance on all this?
I know I'm not alone. There's no way in hell I am all alone right now.
Join us, Austin. Thank you.
I think my favorite thing about Big Bill being with him now is Big Bill is not a young talent. He's not an old guy, but we know who and what Big Bill is. Great hand, great guy to have on the roster, but you're not stifling someone else's trajectory. Big Bill probably needs the TV time of being with Jericho. I mean, we had a good run with him and Starks. But that gives Big Bill a bit of a rub, and it gives Jericho someone interesting with him, not someone you just wish was with anybody else at the time.
And it's an easy sell for Jericho. I mean, like I saw a clip of him earlier today when he was actually at the Winnipeg Jets game last night, right? You know, as he was doing a thing, he actually like promoted the learning tree in the middle of this like it was on TSN, which is ESPN up north of the border, basically, right? You know, the broadcast there, and he's like talking about AEW, we're gonna be here tomorrow night, this and that, and my learning tree, and it is like the kind of like the totally obtuse. I'm not listening to anything, but I'm making my point across. It's the greatest thing in the face of the planet, no matter what you say. Sort of Jericho. I like it. He's out of touch in the best way.
And my favorite part about this, and this, it clearly wasn't the plan from the beginning, but all these previous Jericho feuds have basically been him trying to take someone under his wing that didn't really want to be there.
Oh,
and Big Bill is volunteering. And I think that's a nice little wrinkle in the story.
Yeah.
I don't think it was the plan, but the fact that someone's finally coming up to him and feeding his ego and saying, no, I want to be under your learning tree, like instantly has pulled me back in on Chris Jericho.
the amount of disdain that's building in Jamie's brain right now is immeasurable. I can see it from here.
So let me just explain something here, guys. Like, I'm over Chris Jericho. Like, we've officially broken up. We are no longer on speaking terms. I'm done with Chris Jericho. But this match tonight was actually really good. It wasn't because of him, man. It was 100% because of Shibata. And Big Bill with the assist, but
a giant bag of hockey pucks.
Yeah, exactly. But my thing is, guys, like, he's holding on to that last string for way too long, and it's time.
Sure.
It's 100% time for him. Like, somebody needs to take him out back and just, put him down. Put him down.
So here's the thing, Jamie. I get you. I understand where you're coming from, and I don't necessarily disagree. But you are going to get Chris Jericho every Wednesday, whether you like it or not.
Thank you.
I'm glad they're finally doing something interesting with Chris Jericho. That's not just him dragging down someone else I'd like to see succeed.
Plus, in theory, he shouldn't really be wrestling much anymore with the composition of what this character technically is, right?
Yeah.
Now it's about him instilling his knowledge to better Big Bill, and maybe he gets somebody else similar to Big Bill on his team, right, of the same sort of level, which is even better, right?
You know who I think needs to be under the learning tree next? Max Caster.
Oh.
I like that. Actually,
I think that would be a good split up the Acclaimed and send Max Caster with Jericho and Big Bill.
Okay.
Let Bowens have a nice singles run as a babyface.
yeah.
I think that helps Jericho's group, and that helps Max Caster a lot too, because he needs to move on to do other things.
Okay.
Both the Acclaim do. It just kind of runs course.
Yeah, separate for a little bit, bring it back together later. Cool.
Yeah. Speaking of separating, Rocky Romero's completely done with the Best Friends.
I gotta say, I'm real interested in where the Callis thing's going, but I kind of hope this is leading to Trent versus Rocky versus Orange Cassidy at Double or Nothing, because that would be phenomenal.
Ooh.
Oh, a triple threat of those guys? Yes,
Yeah.
please. And then it turns out that Orange is the heel. Oh, yes.
Yeah, and then we get Roppongi Vice back as an actual tag team.
Yes, legit.
Cool. So,
How about the Professor going up against...
you skipped Claudio.
Did I? I sure did.
Yeah,
I sure did.
Claudio Castagnoli versus Brian Cage.
And the fact that he won with a sharpshooter in Winnipeg.
Yeah.
Yep.
Let's just talk about that for a second. I can't believe I missed that.
They did a little promo earlier about Claudio, right? Which was a very good video promo. Their video promos have gotten infinitely better, by the way.
Yeah, I would
Infinitely better. Rush had one on Rampage that was just chef's kiss. And, with Moxley kind of doing the IWGP stuff right now, Danielson's doing Danielson things, right? And Wheeler's got some time off, right? I like the fact that Claudio's getting some focus, right? And getting focus on just being Claudio, right? Because that's kind of his gimmick. He had a myriad of gimmicks over time in WWE and elsewhere, but his gimmick is he's Claudio Castagnoli, the Swissman. That's it. That's him, right? So I like that kind of excellence of execution sort of angle they're taking to it. As I've said before, I always enjoy getting Brian Cage in there because he could put in a good match.
He really can. He's a good worker.
Yeah, this match was what you would expect from those two. Very good, very fun match. Yeah, I like that they're giving Claudio these promos. We get what Claudio is these days. He's that upper mid-carder, more of a gatekeeper. I would love to see someone put a title on him and strap a rocket ship to him, which if Adam Copeland and House of Black is leading to Malachi Black winning the TNT title, that should definitely lead to Claudio Malachi Black for that belt.
Malachi Claudio, please.
But the promo's good just to remind you why Claudio's there. He's not just a guy that goes out and has a good match every once in a while.
Right.
Yeah, give me more of that for a lot of the roster. Just check in with them. You got several hours of TV every week. Give me 60 seconds of ex roster member just kind of giving an update on where they're at.
So I'm saying that's what they did with Rush. Like I said, the video promos. I think they've come so far from where they were, JB, because they were not good for a while.
They were something. That's what they were. They were something.
They were Phantom Menace level something.
Ooh, that's not a real movie. That's not a real movie.
I'm just waiting for Heather.
Don't get me going on that thing. All right, so now let's talk about Serena Deeb versus Mariah May. The Professor going up against the prodigy of one timeless Toni Storm, and the winner gets a match at Double or Nothing, I guess is what the thing was for it. And Serena Deeb wins. We didn't see that one coming, but she looked phenomenal. And so did Mariah.
I think she looked good. I think they both looked good. I think that it took them a little while to kind of feel each other out, They could have maybe used a little more practice together because once they got going about halfway through is when the match actually started to get pretty good. That first half was a little bit herky-jerkiness, right?
It was kind of slow in the first half too. And not even the pacing, just the movement was a bit slow.
Yeah.
And when Serena's not moving fast, I think it takes away from her character because you're the woman of 1,000 holds and you're this excellent technical wrestler. But when you're just kind of slowly transitioning into some of the things she was doing, it just doesn't quite connect. The one thing I didn't like about this match is I thought it was too much just Serena picking Mariah May apart. I would have liked to see a little bit more from Mariah May in this match. I don't mind Mariah May being the gatekeeper to the title, though. Tony, just until you're ready to move into a bigger program, just whoever's challenging at the next pay-per-view, they got to beat Mariah May first before they get to wrestle Toni Storm. That's a fun little thing to do with their story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're not gonna do any because you really don't have any other direction planned with Mariah May. There's always we initially thought, right? There's always the turn on Tony angle, which one day they might do that, but until you get to that point, you really don't have anything else kind of planned. The Mia Shirakawa stuff was good fun, but she's only moonlighted. She's already back in Japan, right? She was over there again.
She's got a big match coming up.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw.
Oh, I saw it. Thekla turned her
Thekla.
Hard.
Blonde Thekla.
Thekla is, oh, God. Give me Thekla and Mina in AEW. Forbidden Door 3, that's what I want to see. I want to see those two. They can each pick somebody from.
For sure.
Oh. Like Mina can get Mariah May and Thekla can pick up whoever. I don't care.
Sorry.
Right?
I think they're probably just treading water until Jamie Hayter's ready to come back.
Absolutely.
And
we know that.
they'll save the Tony Mariah split for after Tony drops the title.
Yeah. Because then that gives Tony a storyline outside of the title picture, right? Which is fine. You know, I want
It's fine.
I want some more gravitas, though, because it's like, yeah, it's announced Serena Deeb versus Toni Storm. I guarantee you I know who all four of us are picking in that match for Double or Nothing.
Yeah. Like, it's going to be the same problem we've had the last two pay-per-views. Toni Storm is just so much more entertaining, but also the heel that you're not really going to get behind the babyface. And so the match will be fine. The match will be fun, but it'll be a lukewarm reaction and predictable finish.
Still Jay Cargill thing. It's like you're propping somebody up after one pay-per-view finishes. They're the next one in the line. There's no weight behind that. And they could have done that again with Deonna and Thunder Rosa if they would have done it before they had them each challenge independently for the title, but whatever. Yeah. So
Was the Deonna promo after this, or was that on Rampage?
it was on Rampage. We talk about it now, though, if you want to.
Okay.
We don't have to go straight chronological. Let's talk about Deonna promos.
The most I've been into Deonna since she got to AEW, outside of like the debut, which I like Deonna. Good move, giving her an edge. She needs that. Like, solid promo.
Yeah, and even in the match they had last on Collision Rampage, because I don't remember which is which, because they do the 3-hour stuff. It all runs together, right? Yeah. But on Saturday night, it ended with her basically attacking her on the stage part of the ramp. By her, I mean Thunder Rosa, being drug off by two officials while she's flipping off Thunder Rosa on her way out the door, right? So you're keeping that alive. You're not making anyone a full heel either, too. Like, Deonna as a heel was great. Like, her in Impact Wrestling as a heel, some of the best work she's ever done. 100%. I'll fight anybody that disagrees with me on that. Okay? You got enough heels on your women's division right now, right? Especially if you make Mercedes a heel like you need to do yesterday. So having her just be this edgy, sort of like F the world person is fantastic. Her promos you hated, Jamie, right? But when she comes out there and does like this, sort of like fuck with the Jersey girl and find out sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Finally, something.
They're making progress, baby steps.
Yeah, that's the best way to put it. Like, she came in, us hardcore fans like, hey, yeah, she's here, and then she's talking. It's like, I'm so good, I'm gonna break somebody's arm, and now she's like, Tommy, bitch. I'm like, finally, like, let's go.
Yeah.
Get
that emotion at.
All she needed was that little bit of edge.
Yeah,
already circled right back around on her.
Yeah. Like, I'm a fan again.
So I told Jamie this too. 50-50 book this shit for me. Give me Thunder Rosa and her every couple weeks. Fuck it. 50-50 book that.
Yeah, on Collision.
That's good.
Put on Collision.
Yeah, every week.
Collision's got great wrestling.
I would put them in a best of 7.
There you go.
Like Booker T and Benoit back in the day.
Yeah, because when they did it with Booker T and Benoit, those weren't your top guys.
Yeah.
But it gives two mid-carders a nice program to run for a while, and you can add some gimmick matches throughout it.
Variants there, sure.
It gives you another story in your women's division that's not one of the 2 title pictures.
Exactly.
Dude, they haven't done a best of 7 like that. I mean, like, they did the best of 7 with the Elite and the Dark Order, but
that was a little.
They did
telegraphed.
They did it with the for the trios titles with the Elite and Death Triangle as well.
That's
2 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh, he said Dark Order.
Oh, yeah. You say Dark Order? It was Death Triangle.
It's Death Triangle, whatever. Yeah,
I thought that was a separate best of 7 because, like, I got a little late in on AEW, so I don't know if I missed something.
No. They didn't do a best. That was the only best of 7 they did.
Yeah, I like a good best of 7 when there's a reason for it, and let Deonna and Thunder Rosa fight it out.
I think there might have been one in. Was there one in NXT? It might have been since like old TNA was the last time, because it's been a while. That's not really a gimmick that you really see used that much, which is good, but also kind of disappointing because when it's warranted like this,
yeah,
it's fantastic. usually.
Because both sides come out of the thing looking better for it. Because it's always going to go 7.
Yeah.
And so now you've beaten each other 3 times each.
But you got a reason to 50-50 book it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Time for the main show.
It's time for somebody who hails from North Carolina.
I love that in Winnipeg he even pulls that out.
Omega back on my television screen. And man, he had a lot to say.
Sure did.
And then here comes the Elite. But we're gonna baby steps.
Wait on that.
Baby steps. So his story about the diverticulitis, guys, like the crowd seemed legit like, holy shit. You know, like, and I had that moment too. Like, I didn't know it was that bad.
Oh yeah, diverticulitis is literally like wears away your intestine, your lower intestine. It basically it's like if you just chugged a bunch of acid, you know. So he's got basically he has porous intestines is what it is. So what goes through those, and if it's porous, where does it go? Yeah, it's legit.
Yeah, I think he did a good job. Well, that was the other thing. Like when he first came out, you didn't know, like, is this just an update? Is this leading or something? Now, who knows if everything he said is 100% the truth, or if some things were exaggerated a bit for dramatic effect.
Well,
either way,
a couple things that were exaggerated.
Yeah. But either way, like, way to set up what was to come later in this segment.
Yeah. Well, what I heard, Jamie, is that he had decided a few weeks ago he's going to go through with a specific surgery, right? And it may actually be like 2 small surgeries. It's not a surgery like your shoulder surgery, right? But he's going to have, in essence, parts of your digestive tract removed. You know, I've had that done. I had a perforated colon. You know, so went through, tore a scratch in it, and I had to get a chunk removed from my body. It happens to people all the time, right? But from what I've read is that they're hopeful that, you know, that should be all he needs, you know, after, you know, letting it heal and doing this and that he maybe one day in the future he might have to be as extreme as he's saying. But that apparently was the last update I read through the dirt sheets a couple weeks ago, that he's planning on having that within the next month or 2 is what it said.
Yeah, I would imagine they probably don't do what they did tonight unless they thought there was a high likelihood he'll be back in the future. Not anytime soon, but good chance we get Kenny Omega back, which would be rad.
Yeah, I mean, he did, you know, he did call out the Rainmaker, Kazuchika Okada. You know, I thought that was great to see those two go face to face for the first time in AEW ring like that. Like, I felt the electricity. The crowd didn't seem too over on it, but I was hyped. I was hyped about it because I'm like, I know.
When I heard that coin drop, I was like, if we were in those stands, Jamie would literally be like grabbing onto my shirt and like jumping up and down like a 4-year-old.
Speaking of 7 stars, yeah. So I loved it though. Like, they were face to face. Omega asked Okada to give him just a few months, and the two of them will settle things in the AEW ring. But I loved how Okada says he's sorry, but he is the best bout machine now. And I'm like, oh, come on. Why can't this happen like at Double or Nothing? Why do I have to wait?
You have to wait till probably London. This screams London.
At the earliest.
Looking forward to it whenever it does happen, for sure.
Okay, whenever it does. Hope, yeah. Like I said, we don't want to rush anybody back. But then
I kind of want it rushed.
Well, I know you want it rushed, but yes.
Hey,
now,
if he dies,
all right.
He dies.
So I do want to pull out a pin that you put in the show a little bit earlier, Jamie.
Yes, about the Jack Perry.
So, the Young Bucks had an interview with Renee Paquette, which I don't know. Like, their interviews with Renee are fantastic, right? Especially because there's threads that they continue to pull. Like, literally, they'll like be like a text they'll send her that's like "Smile More" that she'll like read in the middle of another interview. It's fantastic. All right. So Jack Perry. So they said they're going to be looking for an old friend, and they've seen them. They're like, well, okay, well, we're not. We're going to take care of that. We're going to let you talk to somebody else. So they basically intro in Jack Perry to talk to Renee Paquette. And he talks about some different things about how what he did is what he said. Doing what's best for AEW, what's best for business. And how Tony Khan's the one that made him the scapegoat. Basically points all the fingers at Tony Khan. It's all Tony Khan's fault, right?
Yeah.
Fantastic move. And then he says this. And let me know if you guys had the same thought that I had in my head. Because he said, very slowly and deliberately into the camera, there is a new era. This is a new era under the Elite. So that pay-per-view is going to be called The Elite Present New Era, I'm guessing. Or is it their little group name? I don't know. He emphasized it a little too much for me to just casually walk past it.
I thought the emphasis was just kind of what's cut, like we were talking about earlier. Like, this is going to be a long storyline with the Elite just running the show for months and months to come.
Agreed. Yeah, I felt like he was setting the tone that he is now the leader of the Elite.
Okay.
That was
too many things. I don't know.
Yeah, I got this as, hey, this is a new era. Kind of like the Bullet Club. Whenever anybody ever took over the Bullet Club, there's always a new era of the Bullet Club, so I kind of got that same gist out of it. So
okay.
I'm digging it, though, because Jack Perry is so over right now, it hurts.
Well, it wasn't over tonight. Well, so let's go back. Okada's in the ring talking to him. And here comes Jack
I mean, there's a lot of people who are like, I'm not your buddy, guy. I'm not your guy, friend.
So Perry jumps Kenny. They get
Kenny
into
fights
it.
back.
Kenny got some moves in. He did Snapdragon Snoopex. He's setting up for a V-trigger, and here's a chair in your gut.
That was such just like good old school pro wrestling angle right there.
Oh,
So good.
One shot to the abdomen and I could die. And Jack Perry's just like, bet.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord, don't hit him in the gut.
So that is how the Dynamite ended. And then we go right into Rampage. And honestly, like we were saying, the better wrestling happened on Rampage.
Well, they seamlessly rolled into it too, which I like too, right? Because
Yeah,
you had
I like
FTR
that
come out, and it was technically now Rampage time, not Dynamite time, but it was still the same thing going, right? So you had FTR come out, which makes sense, right? So when you're setting up that blood and guts for some time, I don't know, end of the year, early next year, whatever it is, right? You got your players lined up. Right, so I do like how they just seamlessly rode into it. But the wrestling, I'm gonna say the wrestling was better on Rampage than it was on Dynamite. The actual wrestling of wrestling,
100%.
Yeah, a little bit, but I think the wrestling on Dynamite meant a little bit more.
it did.
So I don't know if it was necessarily better. Just the last hour, you got more just like, here's some cool wrestling. But like, that's the perfect thing to do with your 3-hour show. Like, all your main story beats are done in the first 2 and run over. Now, like, hey, we're not just throwing out random matches. Like, there was reasons for things that were happening. But it was more of like, hey, if you're sticking around for next hour, here's some cool shit to watch.
Yeah. You get Jay
sure.
White versus Dante Martin, right? You get
Killer match. I enjoyed the hell out of it.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun, right? Everybody knew who was going to win these matches, right? And you get Kyle O'Reilly versus Rocky Romero, right? Kyle O'Reilly wins, but that was a fantastic match. So
Absolutely.
Yeah, so you had that, then you had the Deonna Purrazzo right after the Jay White Bull and Dante Martin match. But and then we had Roosh. How about Roosh? Like, they're giving him vignettes. He looked really good on Dynamite. Like, push this man.
That's what I'm saying,
And
man.
they are. So in, dude. Okay. I don't care about Big Bill. Sorry. You guys could talk about Big Bill and Chris Jericho
Big Bill
if you want.
formally accepted into the learning tree happened on. We already mentioned it earlier. Austin did, but is officially welcomed in by Jericho. Accepted on.
Yeah, you got Jericho Encore. And even that, like, it wasn't too long and it had a purpose. Like I said, I'm in on Big Bill and Chris Jericho together.
Swerve's not going to be alone next week. Thoughts?
No.
What that means?
He's face now.
I would say probably Claudio is involved. Just because after Claudio and Swerve, Claudio whispered something to him.
Okay. That does make sense.
And
I would like to see Keith Lee, but I don't think he's healthy yet.
Keith Lee would be great.
It would be such a good story. I mean, because he's now a face. Swerve's now a face. What do faces do? They make up with their old friends who they fucked over, right? That's a face thing to do.
Very face thing to do.
Yeah, I would like to see Keith Lee as well. Yeah. I don't know, but yeah, I'm trying to think of who else would make a lot of sense.
Somebody who's got it in for. I mean, I don't think it's not going to be Copeland. Copeland's tied up with the House of Black.
Probably not going to be Darby because he just got hit by a bus.
Yeah. Poor guy. Literally broke his ankle and gets hit by a bus.
I mean,
you can't make that shit up.
It's like you can't make this stuff up. It's like.
I mean, but like at this point, would it be the Mogul Embassy? They're technically still kind of a thing,
though.
Brian Cage had Mogul Embassy on his graphics when he came out, but he was all alone. We haven't seen Gates Agony in a hot minute, and it doesn't make any sense to have them still connected.
But I did just point out it could be Claudio. What if it's Claudio and Brian Cage?
I'm in on that. Like, yeah, Brian Cage turned face right here.
Okay.
Brian Cage has kind of just been whatever you needed him to be for a long time. Like, he's a heel, but he's never really had heat as a heel. It's just who's he associated with at the time. But he is still technically part of the Mogul Embassy. If he ran out to help out Swerve next week, they just cheer him as a face anyway, and we'd be right back on track.
Yeah. He's basically in the lackey role right now, no matter what. So, okay.
Yeah, good point.
Saraya.
How about Kyle O'Reilly and Rocky Romero, guys? What'd you think?
It was good.
Oh, yeah, I guess we did kind of just gloss over that a little bit. That match was rad.
Yeah, we did just, yeah.
It was like, oh, it happened.
I'm trying to get to my favorite match of the night, but yes.
I mean, we're there now. After Saraya and Harley Cameron weren't too impressed with Mariah May, whatever.
So, Harley Cameron's apparently going to fight her on Dynamite next week, and Saraya gave my favorite quote of the night: "Don't tell us to keep our tits out. They already are." And they walk off.
So good. Then you did have the Undisputed Kingdom, doing a little talky talk. Roderick Strong, has a message for Will Ospreay.
Sure.
Yeah, it was fine. Like I've always said, he's not the strongest on the mic.
Well, they're just touching all their bases. It's like, hey, we got that match coming up. Make sure it's included somewhere. Here's where it was.
He's Qui-Gon. Not the best Jedi.
So,
not even top 10. Like, let's be real.
All right. Final match.
Sky Bluty versus Willow Nightingale and a Manitoba Massacre.
Because why not? Just add more names. I don't care.
Gentlemen.
TBS title match. Falls count anywhere. Let's go.
There was blood. There was thumbtacks. There was chair shots. There's barbed wire. Like, This match was nuts, and both these women did so good. I love Willow though. Like I'm a Willow stan forever and ever and ever. And this version of Sky Blue is honestly the best thing they could have done for her because before she was literally just her personas were her cheeks, and now she's actually got some kind of personality. No, dude, big fan, but that big old power bomb into the barbed wire though, bro.
Oh. For the pin, that was amazing. I mean, you know me. Me and Austin were we already jumped onto our like little here while I was finished watching it, and I go stop, pause. There's tacks on my screen. I go because I'm a tack junkie. Give me tacks, and she pulled them out, and they used the fuck out of them. It was so good. And Sky Blue's got a little bit of this to her. Like, she's been quoted saying this, talking about how, she's young. It is what it is, right, kids? I'm going to wrestle till I'm 80, and I want to do death matches and all this crazy shit, right? She backs it up for what it's worth. So, I'll give her flowers there for sure. But this was a lot of fun. It's a great way to end the night, too. Willow super over. Put her in a fun match. Her and Sky done a lot of wrestling together, so they do play off each other well. And yeah, there's nothing wrong with a little gimmick hardcore match for a title at the end of the night. Yes, please.
Yeah, I didn't care for Sky Blue's promo earlier in the night. It's like kind of got that Mercedes Moné thing of like that WWE cadence of like I'm remembering my lines as I say them, and like you're trying to like say them like you're tough, but it just doesn't come off natural. And I think the fact that Willow had a promo like shortly after, Willow cut a really good promo, kind of made that look worse. But one thing AEW seems to never miss on is women's hardcore matches.
Oh yeah.
And they kept the streak alive. It's just always good. Like I can't remember any like gimmick match with the women, no matter who was in it, that didn't end up being extremely entertaining. And that's what this was too.
Well, it's pretty much like, I mean, you'll get some of that in TNA, right? They've done a women's Monsters Ball or two, right? That's pretty much it. You're not going to find that anywhere else, right? So if women want to go out there and do the same thing as the guys, you're definitely not going to get that in maybe NXT very lightly at most.
Even then, like tables and chairs, the occasional ladder, a kendo stick, several kendo sticks. It's always kendo sticks.
Yeah, kendo sticks.
It's wild that WWE has had several women's Hell in a Cell matches now, and none of them have been as good as a random street fight between the women you'll catch on a random Rampage.
Right. What was it? A few years back, like in 22, I think it was. Into 22, you had that New Year's Eve Dynamite at Jacksonville, and you had Ty J versus the Bunny and Penelope. That was
so good.
Amazing.
The barbed wire Queen Slayer, absolutely.
I mean, it's Sky Blue and Willow just going at it. Taxes, chairs, barbed wire board on top of a table, power bombed through it for the pin. Fantastic.
It was the right way to cap off a really solid night of wrestling.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm with you there.
Absolutely.
Carry on top.
Well, we are just a few weeks out. So, what?
We're 9 days away.
As I was saying, we're just a few weeks out from Double or Nothing, so the card is starting to come.
That's like 4 weeks.
You didn't let me transition. You're just.
I know. I wasn't allowing it. Nope.
All right, we're just a couple weeks away from Double or Nothing. We got 4 matches now officially on the books. So you got Ospreay versus Roderick Strong for the international title. You got Mercedes Moné versus Willow Nightingale for TBS title. The women's title, Toni Storm versus Serena Deeb. Now you got Swerve versus Christian. So you got your four title matches kind of already out there. We have to see what transpires with the Elite, how they're going to be involved. Don't fully expect all the elite to defend all their titles, but there's definitely going to be. I'm really interested to see how they kind of go into this, right? Because they can lean into this angle. As I'm with you guys, like you said, lean into this hard. But
I think we're getting a 4-on-4 at Double or Nothing.
That sounds about right.
Which, yeah, I'd be here for. Like, FTR will likely be on the other side, and then whatever two they throw in.
Yeah, because it won't be Kenny.
Hangman's
won't
still
be Kenny.
Dealing with stuff.
Swerve's already got a match. But, like, you've got weeks to tell that story and to get some other people roped in. So, like,
well, that's the good thing about the authority figure angle. You can literally pull anybody from the roster and put them in that in a very short order. You could, thematically, you could put the Dark Order in it.
Yeah,
technically,
they need a push. They deserve a push.
We are less than 2 weeks away, though, like Jamie was saying, from Bombs Over Ball, which is Fountain City Pro's newest show, happening a week from Friday, the 10th of May. Olathe, Kansas, at the Ball Event Center, over by Olathe Medical Center, 151st and I-35, for those of you who are familiar. And tickets are still available. I don't know if they have any front row seats left. I'm not 100% sure. The front row seats all sold out pretty quick last time. I honestly have not checked to see how many tickets they have front row remaining or not, but I know there are regular seats available, plenty of room too. So you definitely could show up and buy your ticket at the door if that's your jam. 6 o'clock is doors. 7-ish is the bell. First bell. And we will be doing the pre-show once again. So for those of you who can't make it, unfortunately they don't live broadcast. It'll be recorded and released probably a week or so later. So follow their social media. I got links down below, but we'll be on their social media and we'll be here on our channel live for the pre-show on Friday the 10th. So if you are not already, please follow us here. Hit that bell icon so you get an idea about when we go live, and you'll be able to kind of see everything. So lots coming up here. Do you guys have any final thoughts on Dynamite or anything else this particular Wednesday Eve?
I'm tired.
Yeah.
Jamie's in. Yeah,
this was a late one. I figured with the late start we'd breeze through it, but damn you, AEW, you put on such a good show. There was a lot of shit to talk about.
A normal time. I tried to go quick, but Jimmy, you kept wanting to double back. So
it was too good to breeze through.
Okay,
everything meant something.
Well, and you guys mean something to me.
Aww.
So have a very happy Star Wars Day, those of you out there. May the Force be with you. But thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We appreciate you giving us some of your time. Jamie, take us home, man.
Hey, we already know it's gonna be May right now, but hey, if you're out down Total Spotfest, I got 4 words for you. We're just too elite.
Okay. All right, guys. We'll see you next week.
Peace.
Later.